linen tow, little piece of canvas that I sewed up into a pouch and then waxed to keep the linen dry when it's shoved in my belt pouch. Make a little bird's nest out of this. I know why it's called a bird's nest. I'd like to know who came up with the idea and where they got the idea from. Kind of separate it out a little bit. Set that right there where it's going to go. A little bit of flint, a little bit of steel, a little bit of char. Turn to the shadow so I can see what I'm doing. Blow on that to keep the ember going. Put this stuff away so I don't lose it. Put that in my bird's nest. So for my tripod, I just cut a couple willows. And one of the things you'll see guys talk about is a tripod hitch for tying up a tripod. And it's a very valuable skill to have. Whoa, my horse just got loose. Anyway, tripod hitch, very useful if you're doing something heavy. For something light like this, just this little teapot, you can just tie a couple tight loops around it and then open the tripod up. Your loop can't slide down because the tripod expands, can't go up. It's going to hold, especially if you plant these in the dirt. On top of that, you'll see guys that'll make all kinds of fancy hooks and stuff to hang their pot. I tied this little twig to the rope with a clove hitch, just like we tie a horse up with when they don't get loose. I actually didn't tie him up. I just took a couple wraps because I didn't want him pulling that deadfall snag over. Now he's tied up right. And this will hold. If I need to raise it a little bit, I can bring it right there, hook it over that, and lower it back down. Okay, and I've got my tea brewing, and it's just not, I understand that people are tool users, humans are tool users, and we want to collect tools because tools are cool, you know, especially tools for hobbies. You really just don't need that shit, man. Like, you know, throw a piece of cord in your pocket or keep a piece of cord in your pot, and you're good to go. You know, you can make a tripod and hang it to heat your tea up. And you don't have to carry anything extra. This piece of twine will go in my pot and stay there when I'm done with my tea. And that's all I got to do. It just really doesn't take very much. So we're going to let this tea heat up. If I can get this fire actually going good. So one issue that I have is we've had a very dry winter. And winter's not over yet, but we've had a very dry winter. And we had a wind event the other day that was like 4 days long, 60 to 90 mile an hour winds all for nonstop. I saw on Facebook the other day that the county fire marshal had put out a request, not a burn ban, but asked people, hey, you know, maybe don't burn trash, don't burn brush. Fire conditions are really dangerous right now. The wind could pick up at any moment again, and we don't want to burn the county down, which I agree with. So why am I building a fire? Number one, I'm building a very small fire. I can literally step on this fire and put it out. And I don't build big fires, even in the wintertime. I just don't build big fires. Number two, I am literally got a creek right here and a creek right back over there. So getting water from the creek to drown the fire is not a big deal. And the ground around me is soaking ass wet from snow melt. So it's just not a big deal. I am going to grab some more firewood real quick. The other thing about this fire that I want to point out to people is that I use my knife to cut my tripod, but I haven't needed to use an axe or a saw, either one, to cut any firewood. And I am sure there are places in like Central Park where there is just no standing dead or dead and down wood. And that's probably the case a lot on private ground, especially back east. But out here in the mountains, there is no lack ever of fuel wood that you can break with your hands or your foot and be just perfectly fine. You don't, Like I carry an axe, and a lot of times I'll carry a saw, but they're not as essential as everybody makes them out to be. In the wintertime, I will not go to the woods without an axe, without a full-size axe, because I might need to build a really big fire really fucking quick. But now we just let the fire burn and feed it occasionally and let the tea warm up. So, old pony's not happy standing there tied, but he'll be all right. I don't want my leggings that close to the fire. So, water's simmering. I'm gonna pull out a tea bag or two, probably two tea bags for this. This is just peppermint tea. I think it's Celestial seasonings. Throw a couple tea bags in there and let them steep. And any Englishmen watching this are gonna lose their minds because I'm not gonna take it off the heat while it's steeping. It's not actually boiling yet. So I'm going to let that continue to simmer a bit. Pull this over here and then put my tomahawk over here to set it on. Break a little chunk off with the back of my knife, not with the sharp edge of my knife. And I can chuck that in my tea when it's done brewing and have some sweetener in there. Oh, let me find a little twig. So I'm going to use this little twig and just kind of stir the tea bags around in there and let them seep a little faster. Probably give it another 5 minutes, which is just enough time for my fire to die down. And look, it is good. That sugar dissolve. Take my tripod apart because I won't need it again tonight since I didn't bring any food with me. I'm gonna go ahead and put all my unburnt ends in there so they can smolder down in fire. Ideally, all I want left at the end is some ash. So this little piece of twine, I normally have a piece of sinew twisted into a rope, a string that I keep in there, but I couldn't find it. It wasn't in my pot. It might be in my other pot actually, but so we'll put this rope in there when we're done and call it good. All right, that looks drinkable. See if my sugar's done soaking. Not yet, but close enough for government work anyway. Tastes like peppermint. Usually, this doesn't have a whole lot of sugar in it, like I would, normally do. Normally my peppermint tea tastes like peppermint candy at Christmas, but the sugar's not completely dissolved in this yet. But it's warm and it's potable. So last thing I'm going to talk about as I drink this tea is water purification and the fact that this water did not come to a boil. There are a whole lot of people who will tell you that you have to bring your water to a rolling boil for 1 minute or 10 minutes or 20 minutes. That is complete nonsense, even up here at elevation. The pathogens in water, cryptosporidium, giardia, stuff like that, generally die at about 150 to 160 degrees. At 160 degrees, you've killed anything in that water that's going to make you sick. At our elevation, water boils at like 190 degrees, whereas if you're at sea level, it boils at like 210. So it doesn't matter how long that water reaches that temperature for, as long as it reaches over 160 degrees, your water's good. Okay, so this was simmering. It was probably, 180, 185 degrees something. I'm not worried about it. I'm really not worried about catching anything drinking out of the creek. I do it enough that I've built an immunity to whatever's there, but it is what it is. So, as my British friends would say, cheerio, mate. That was more Australian, wasn't it? I don't do accents. Piss off.